Kamala Thursday night, and he basically wagged his finger at black men and denounced them for not supporting Harris. He's also viciously attacking Trump right now. So to me, it smells like desperation. And if a core part of your base, and in this case, black men in the Democratic Party, is not enthusiastic about their nominee, and in this case inclined to vote for Trump, that's a major problem this late in the game, Darren.
Absolutely. I think former President Obama said a lot of the quiet part, which is something that we've been asking for Vice President Harris to do on her own. So in one respect, I'm happy he just made it plain and made things clear. But I also think that shaming someone into voting is not purely going to be enough. You may not like President Donald Trump, you may not like his policies, but he is doing exactly what it takes to win. And I wish the same was being said for Vice President Harris. At this point, it should be throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, out from your campaign in order to secure the win in November. And unfortunately, Vice President Harris isn't doing that. I think former President Obama will bring in some votes, but he's still not the candidate at this time. And if we had seen that same level of enthusiasm from Vice President Harris and clarity, we might be in a better position as Democrats. And that's up and down the entire ballot.
So when Trump says fake news and he points, to the media, fake news, they go ballistic. But they prove his point constantly. Like this week when 60 Minutes on CBS doctored and cut up one of Kamala Harris's answers about Israel. So much of the legacy media is in the tank for Kamala, period. And they drop all of their standards and ethics. And he's right, Katie, and people see it now.
What's amazing to me, though, about that is no amount of editing and creativity. It could answer the when you watch these interviews, it doesn't matter how much they do, and you still are left with what you just heard. But I will say that I think needs to do more interviews, especially on The View, is he sat there and was asked anything you would do different than President Biden. And there's nothing she could think of. So the Republican strategist, I would like to personally thank he gave the Republican Party 22% of our people in this country think we're going in the right direction, and 78% of Americans from 7 is going. And you want to say, there's nothing I would do different. If she can't think of anything different with the economy, if she can't think of anything she might do different with the staff, Afghanistan, like 13 of them have been dead. If she can't think of anything she would do different on the border fentanyl crisis, if she was to fully take responsibility for the last 4 years, please be my guest and go out and do all the interviews you want talking about how you were no different than Joe Biden.
Yeah, that was a gift and a really bad mistake. And Tim Walz calling himself a knucklehead. That was another gift. But Katie and Darren, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
All right, so Melanie, let me ask you this. We heard Eric Upday before say, I am not conceding any ground. And oftentimes you hear, both parties tend to go to their base, right? Let me just do the safe thing and pull out as many votes as possible. Trump is proving that that's not the way to go. You go deep into the heart of enemy territory, if you will, because you can only come out ahead. And Eric Upday, I was glad in Wisconsin where he says, no, I'm going directly on those campuses in Madison. I'm going directly inner city Milwaukee, and I'm making my case.
Indeed, and President Trump is absolutely doing the same thing. He's going states that are not considered swing states. He's going to be in New York next week, Friday's in California today. Everything is addition. As you and I were talking about during the break, one of the things that I appreciate about Trump and the way he's run his campaigns in general is that he's always adding. Look where he is with the black and Latino vote. He's up to like 30%, where usually black folks were only voting 5% before President Trump came on the scene. Say what you want about his rhetoric. He's put his money where his mouth is, and he's doing the work in communities that Republicans don't normally work at. So as a long-time black Republican, I appreciate that tremendously, and I think overall it's going to be good. He's revealed so much to us about how the media works, about how the deep state works, and just many things that a lot of people didn't know about. This unconventional president, unconventional candidate to do it.
Well, there's an old saying, they can't love you if they don't know you. And that's why you have to go introduce yourself in these kind of neighborhoods where
If you want to sell your house in the next 30 days and you're thinking about listing it with a realtor, you're going to want to listen to this.
neighborhoods where, you know, your staff will say, consultants, don't go there.
The Fed's trying to muddy the water with the UFO disclosure product. There seems to be a lot of charlatans, people who don't actually know what's going on, suddenly throwing their voice into the mix, trying to distract us from what's really happening. We're going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about what is the government hiding at the South Pole Station in Antarctica. Turns out the South Pole Station not only is an earthquake-generating machine. Yes, the station can create earthquakes around the world. In fact, we've done quite good at it. It's devastating. In fact, the devastating earthquake in Christchurch, New Zealand, yes, that was the fault of this massive South Pole Station. As also, it is a air traffic control tower at the South Pole Station. I know this might be many of you watching right now, but many of you may can understand what's going on.
Is it possible that the pharmaceutical industry... I want to know, when are we going to stop being stupid? When are we going to come together and deal with the assholes that we know are lying to us? Are never undertaken unless it's likely that there's a profit at the end of them.
Is it station? Very few people know what's actually happening there. Our next guest works for Raytheon. He was stationed at the South Pole Station. He saw the technology in action, and now he's a whistleblower trying to wake all of us up to what these governments are doing, and how the feds are perhaps trying to muddy the water right now. My guest is Eric Hacker. Welcome back to the show, Eric. Great to see you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Something that's monumental and
Me as well. You and I spoke about a month ago on a separate topic, but I will say that we're going to talk about a lot of things today. We're going to talk about the weather manipulation. We're going to talk about what's obviously unfolding in Antarctica, the South Pole Station, and how all of these things are tied together. But you and I talked about a month ago because you've noticed something's been happening in the UFO disclosure community, where there are people who are really trying to interject themselves and perhaps trying to muddy the waters on disclosure. And we're seeing like a lot of obfuscation right now happening. So, this is the South Pole Station as an example, right? You're stationed, but there are people who claim to have gone to Antarctica, but really are only there as tourists, like on a cruise ship. I've never actually been to the South Pole Station, but then they release videos talking about all the details of the South Pole Station, and they've never actually been there. That's just one example. But what has been bothering you so much right now? The state of UFO disclosure in the United States and around the world.
I guess my frustration, Clayton, is that these people are, being put in the spotlight, put on a pedestal, that their information is being put to the forefront when it's unsubstantiated speculation. Like you just mentioned, these people have not been to the fifth largest continent on the planet, short of one person who is a rich tourist. They basically had, the party line in space and other people rattles. I'm not here to pull punches. The folks that I see discussing the topic of Antarctica are just quiet. They would be folks like Travis, that live in Boulder, Dr. Michael Sala. They are being bamboozled by people that they're calling whistleblowers and putting out to the public as whistleblowers. As if these people don't have the capacity to vet these personnel. They don't have the life experience to realize when someone's lying to them. They don't know what's going on. They get to water. They will picture any whistleblower being in Antarctica.
That's what y'all vaccine. That's what y'all vaccine.
These same people will say, well, you're not allowed to have cameras there. It's bad. Well, how do I have so many pictures and videos from my residence in Antarctica? I stand defiance Because I know that they're either lied to or they're part of the lie. Because there's just too much information that they put out. I can challenge all day long. If I was to talk to one of their supposed whistleblowers, I would obliterate their story in 2 seconds flat. This is just, it's time for people to really step up and challenge these people that are claiming to be experts on topics that they're not.
Question every and anything that don't make sense, because the truth is the truth, and the truth always makes sense.
If you're a busy mom like me,
It's the make-believe nonsense that stops you from using common sense.
book spring cleaning for only
Literally the sense that you're born with.
$19.
Literally the senses that you're born with.
My friend recommended Home Glow, so I got a 3-hour
Literally
cleaning while I was at my
the senses,
everything is
the senses.
when I got home. Laundry, dishes, floors, bathrooms, windows, 2 kids under 10, 0 time for spring cleaning. So booking a pro cleaner and checking it off the list was a no-brainer. Book today to get a spring cleaning from Home Glow for just $18.
To be experts on topics that they're not.
You mentioned Brad Olson. What specifically has he said about the South Pole Station, the South Pole specifically, and what do you say is inaccurate?
One of the things that Brad likes putting to the market is that there is a hole at the South Pole Station. Has been originally reported by our plumber, but then by, again, some anonymous whistleblower that we're told by Brad has observed said hole at the South Pole Station. And he often references that there is a no-fly zone at the South Pole Station. I literally myself in person to Reynolds spoken to this man many times on this topic. I showed him a map of the South Pole Station that very clearly indicates there is a no-fly zone in a quadrant of the facility known as ARO, Research Observatory. It is a clean air studies facility at Base Valley. In that area where the no-fly zone is listed, every map has a key. We've all seen maps before. There's a key that gives greater detail. So when the pilots look and they see on the map no-fly zone, the key, and it clarifies that in the no-fly zone, you must fly above 8,000 feet. It's not that you can't fly there. It's that they instill a floor, and that floor height is 8,000 feet. You must fly above it. There's no ceiling restriction, which means you can fly as high as you want. So reasonable quality dictates that you can fly anywhere you want at the South Pole, except for in one small area where you cannot go below 8,000 feet. So this would provide no restriction of you if there was a hole at the South Pole Station. Brad is simply just picking and choosing the information and which whistleblowers he wants to put information out from. The information that he's choosing to put out is unsubstantiated, speculative junk, when he has had verifiable intelligence put to him that he could utilize and chooses not to. His master, what is motive? There's no hole. I bet that I can prove the holes there. I can prove the conversation of the no-fly zone not being as presented to the public. I wonder why he is trying to confuse the masses.
There's a lot of that going on right now in Washington, D.C., around the UFO disclosure movement right now. Just more broadly, why do you think the feds are injecting themselves into this in order to muddy the waters, and then what would be the objective to try to muddy everything right now?
Right. I absolutely do, because I get more attacked when people try to feed me bad intel or just discern the level of information that has available to me. So I see regularly in my own first-hand experience, and then every question. I mean, this is the intelligence and counterintelligence game as standard. They want misinformation, disinformation, so they can continue doing what they're doing. When I went to Washington, D.C., and I testified in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee and Arrow, basically the conversation reduced down to, Eric, now that we have information like yours that supports that we now have these rogue factions rushing around with technology that the average person almost couldn't even consider exist, what do you think we should do? And it's a very challenging question, because the game is being played very hard, and these rogue factions seem to be very unaccounted for. It's very challenging to discern how many different groups are out there, but for anybody that wants to get into the disclosure community, you will find in very short order that you either agree with the speculative, unsubstantiated crap, or you do not get a voice. Your views are one of the few and far between people that I feel is actually a diamond in the rough in this community, because you're not playing those games.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I have no agenda. I just have the truth. And I have people that try to spin me crap all the time, right? And so I want people who were there. I want people who were in these locations, you being the South Pole Station, you're seeing it with your eyes. There's so many things right now. I think people say, I'm not going to believe it until there's a craft that lands in my front yard or on the in front of the White House. That's when I'll believe it. Show me the alien bodies, and I'll believe it. Okay, that's one piece of it. But here, Eric worked at the South Pole Station and witnessed this technology in action. And your sources are impeccable. You have the receipts to show it. So this is what I'm most interested in, is the actual facts. And what you've been able to bring to the table is phenomenal. I've been fascinated. I think some of my fascination has come from some of that speculation about Antarctica over the years. The ideas, the speculation that there's a massive underground base under Antarctica, that there is a giant hole there and all of these things. And what you're saying is, no, there's not. But the truth is actually powerful and stunning than all of this speculation, right?
Yes, exactly. The truth is scarier than the fiction, and I think that's why they keep publishing the fiction, because they don't want people to know what the truth is. I was recently invited to speak over in the Alamosa area of Colorado at an invite-only event, and I was able to get a gentleman who was in the disclosure community, who was by the name of Rex Bear of the Leap Project, and he wanted to come out and interview me while I was in Colorado. So, of course, I agreed. I'm trying to get the truth out there. In my communications with him, he informed me that he has been sitting for a couple of years on an interview that he did with one of the last survivors of Admiral Byrd's expedition. He stated to me that in this interview, that this gentleman destroyed all the narratives that are out in the community now regarding Antarctica. I asked him why he wasn't putting this information out there, and I just got a peculiar look. So again, these are things that I'm learning by diving into the disclosure community, is that there are more people trying to control the narrative behind the truth than there are folks that are interested in the truth, the ramifications to what that means for we the people, and avoiding this discussion of what should we do now that we realize that we're not one. There's great disparity between the technologies that you and I and everybody else gets to utilize every day and the technologies of those that are oppressing us. I believe, and I bastardize and misquote people, but I'll do my best on this. I believe Goth said that the limits of tyrants are prescribed by the level of patience of those whom they oppress.
That would be crazy.
We have to break out of this. We are allowing ourselves to be treated this way, and there are folks that are helping to control the narrative, to keep us in this state of oppression. And look how that's panning out for the folks in North Carolina and Florida right now.
Yeah, let's talk about the weather piece of this. So we're seeing the weather manipulation. We've covered this extensively here on the show. The NEXRAD radar systems that have been used to direct and move these storms in the path of destruction. The control of these storms is unbelievable. I think most Americans were kind of silent and didn't realize that this was actually happening. I think the cat is out of the bag on all of this now. I'm curious, maybe you can paint a picture. In the introduction, I painted a little bit of a picture of what the South Pole Station does, and when you work there, how it actually is able to be used as an earthquake generating machine, what else it's doing there, and maybe how this is tied to the current weather events and all of the things that we're seeing right now across the United States. Can you give our audience more of an overview of that?
Absolutely. The South Pole Station has a system known as the IceCube Neutrino Detector. It is currently the world's largest phased array transmitter. This is basically Tesla technology. I'm sure a lot of the audience is familiar with systems like HARP, which is effectively built on the surface of the Earth, and it has a 2D situation. It has length and width as far as a phased array goes. The South Pole Station differs in so far as it also goes down deep into the ice, giving it a third dimension, length, width, and height. So it has exponential more, I guess you would say, capabilities, targeting discharge of power. Yeah, it's like HARP on steroids, basically. So, yes, it generated the earthquakes that occurred in Christchurch, New Zealand in February of 2011.
And you told me before, I'll let you go on in a second, but when you and I chatted on the phone a few weeks ago, you mentioned, I don't know if you can say this now or if I'm speaking out of telling tales out of school here, but you were speaking to a source that you worked with at the South Pole Station. Since you left there, said the technology has gotten so advanced now with these generation of earthquakes that it's like an autopilot system in an aircraft. I think you described it, that it's so advanced now, it would blow your mind at how targeted these earthquakes are, that they can use from this South Pole Station.
Basically, the trick of it all, one of the things that I learned when I went to this event in Alamos, Colorado, I spoke with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Simeon Heim, and he was doing a presentation on ball lightning. And one of the things that he discussed was how there are reports when earthquakes occur that ball lightning, I guess you would say, is ejected, manufactured by the earthquake. So I engaged him in a dialogue, and I said, well, Doc, wouldn't there be some sort of symmetry there, that if an earthquake can discharge ball lightning, wouldn't we be able to deliver ball lightning to generate an earthquake? And he agreed that it's just simply the matter of being able to deliver said energy, which, for all practical purposes, think of it having an explosive capacity to it. So if you can wirelessly transmit energy from a power supply to somewhere on Earth, deliver it to another location, the end result is quite simply an earthquake. Wireless transmission of energy is something that Nikola Tesla has brought up, 100 some odd years ago now. So this is the state of the union, is that Nikola Tesla discovered this stuff. The powers that be absconded his information. They cordoned it off away from the mass population and have been monopolizing the use of these types of technologies for many decades now. We, the people, are suffering under this monopoly of technology by our oppressors. It's literally just that simple. Yep. And that would be the motive for them to have agents, for lack of a better term, flooding the disclosure community with BS to muddy the waters and confuse us, we the people so that we can continue to be wholly oppressed and well managed.
When you were at the South Pole Station, you witnessed this ice cube neutrino machine in action. So it goes deep, and it's and much larger than HAARP. And I guess just walk us through what they would be using this for. How would they be manipulating the weather? How would they be manipulating and targeting earthquakes around the world? Why would they be doing this? And who is in control of the South Pole Station at this point? Is it the United States government? You were a contractor with Raytheon when you were there. Is it a private enterprise? Who is controlling it?
Great questions. First and foremost, one of the things that the former crew members had emphasized to me to try to get people to understand as I'm trying to get this information out there is that you have to understand it's just far easy now to deliver that energy anywhere on the planet. It's not challenging.
Like they can pick a spot. They can pick a spot in Iran, and they can just dial it in on the computer and launch an earthquake.
Deliver the energy that instigates it. The term that people should become familiar with is earthquake induction or earthquake inducing. So similar to like when you go on the internet and you Google chemtrails, right? You're going to get a whole bunch of baloney that says chemtrails are garbage, blah, blah. But if you Google the term stratospheric aerosol injection, you'll start to find all of the science of what's really going on when they crisscross our skies. So
and the atoms and all of that.
Absolutely, yeah. So
right.
if you look up inducing earthquakes or earthquake induction, you will become privy to a sea of information and science that supports the existence of this technology. It's just that available. People just need to start paying attention to what's going on in the world around them and this disparity in technology. As far as who's running the facility, not 100% sure. This was part of that conversation that I had in Washington, D.C., is because it seems like these, unacknowledged special access programs, USAP, which anybody who's paying close attention, USAP is the actual title of the Antarctic program. It's the United States Antarctic Program, USAP. It is a USAP program by definition. So they are being very deceptive as to what the secondary and tertiary capacities are for this massive phased array system, and they're just pumping it out to the general population as if it's operating under the auspices of science. Of course, things like that have to be secreted away. They're not going to be running around saying we have the world's largest directed energy weapons system at the South Pole Station in Antarctica, because first and foremost, it would breach the Antarctic treaties. And people would say, oh, well, they would never do that. Well, study Greenland and look what happened down there when the United States of America was sneaking nuclear missile bases.
We stay fucking lying. We got too many fucking secrets as it is.
Our nation and many other nations are more than happy to break the rules every single chance they get.
I mentioned at the top, and this is something from your testimony, that this South Pole Station is also a giant air traffic control center that's monitoring the traffic of interstellar travel. I think for anybody who might not be aware of that, there's things, wait, interstellar, you mean craft that's going out into the solar system and beyond. We are tracking that with a control tower at the South Pole Station.
But effectively, the ice cube neutrino detector in its primary purpose is a neutrino observing facility. What I learned in my communications when I went to Washington, D.C., was that what we commonly refer to as UFOs, they're exotic propulsion systems that allow them to do the things that many witnesses have observed, and many nation states and rogue factions seem to have access to this technology, is that their propulsion systems emit neutrinos. So, just like we have radar systems at a standard airport that can track the air traffic of conventionally powered air vehicles, well, now we have this new format that requires observation, whether it's vehicles that are from our own human hands, if it's something in-world, off-world, regardless of
It's a fucking shame that we're being fucked by our government that we pay taxes to, and they constantly up there making up all different type of more taxes for us to pay extra taxes to, and it's just the motherfuckers that we put in charge of having our best interests at heart, and they fucking over us, and we do nothing. This don't make no sense.